Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike. I am Mike, and with me, as always, is Hannah. How are you this Saturday evening, Hannah?
Tip top and ready to talk everything B5.
Ready to Babylon 5, eh?
Babylon
Bit of
5.
babbling on. So, yes, we have reached the season finale of season 2. Hannah, would you want to tell us a little bit about the episode that we are going to be discussing this evening?
Sure. It's called The Fall of Night. Synopsis says the command staff are caught between a rock and a hard place when Sheridan agrees to give sanctuary to a Narn warship, while Earth Force attempts to placate the increasingly aggressive Centauri Republic. It is directed by Janet Greek and written by JMS.
Excellent. Okay, well, we should get a little bit of excitement, as one would expect, with the season finale. Before getting on to that, though, just a quick reminder that we do appreciate feedback, which you can send us at rewatchprojectpodcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can leave us feedback right here on the YouTube channel, if that is how you consume the podcast. Also, check out our friend shows, namely Chinstroker versus Punter, The Good, the Bad, and the Odd, Talk Without Rhythm, and Film Bastards. And also, donations via PayPal, very much appreciated, if and only if you can afford to do so without causing yourself any financial hardship. So, Hannah, do we have any feedback?
We sure do. A quick hello to a new listener, PECLB9W,
Okay.
who put a post up saying, "Funny, I just started rewatching last week, and it's shocking how well it has held up. I've just discovered you guys too.
Excellent.
So that's nice. Welcome.
Good timing.
I hope you're enjoying your rewatch.
It's good to have you aboard.
The coolest of cool daddies never fails to respond, and we love you for it.
We do. We appreciate it.
His first comment says, "Wait, there's a rewatch ranking for Babylon 5. Did I miss that for season 1? I think that's when we were talking about how the last episode wouldn't necessarily rank in your top 20.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but we haven't done a ranking of episodes, and I think if we were to do something like that, it definitely wouldn't be until we've watched everything.
Yes.
Just because of the spoilery nature of how that would go.
Absolutely correct.
We've only done that for the Marvel films, haven't we?
Yes, and I think we also didn't we do an X-Files one where we picked our favourite episodes?
Oh, possibly.
And I think we did.
Oh, yes, we did.
And we did one, I think we did one for one of the seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. I could be misremembering that. But we did some kind of, I think it was like favourite character, and there was it's been a long road. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, yeah.
I do like a good ranking, though.
I do like a good ranking.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, of course, every time Jack the Ripper is mentioned anywhere, my brain goes to the last song in Psych the Musical, Dulé Hill singing Jamaican Inspector Man. All my psychos know. Come on, son.
A Psych fan's called Psychos.
Yeah.
That's great. I really want to watch Psych. It's one of those shows where I've seen the Twin Peaks episode and really liked it. And I downloaded it and started watching the first season and was really enjoying it. But I feel like that's a show that I will really enjoy if I give it my full attention. It just looks...
you've got to get into a rhythm with it.
Yeah, I think...
I mean, I've enjoyed what I've seen. It seems really good, but I've really only seen a few little bits.
Yeah, you got to kind of, like a lot of these sort of shows, you got to get it in your veins, I think, before.
Right. So his next comment, I'm not going to read because that's a little bit of a spoiler.
Okay.
But I completely agree with you. Then he says, "I wish you'd said Saucy Jack." And the name Jack needed to be said.
Sorry, what are we talking about here?
I think he's just talking about Jack the Ripper.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. The name Jack needed to be said, if only to satisfy Chekhov's gun.
Yes, that's right. I mean, you can't set it up and then just leave it hanging, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And then his final comment says, "I think my imposter syndrome brain wouldn't let me accept what the Inquisitor says about me being the right person in the right place at the right time. I would likely dismiss it offhand. Who do you think you are? Just because Kosh hired you? You don't know me. Good thing Delenn and Sheridan don't have that trait. I'm right there with you. I would be like, I'm 100% not the right
Yeah,
person
you've
for
made a
this job.
mistake. You've got it wrong.
Yeah, even jobs that I know I'm fully qualified for, I still think that I'm tricking people into thinking that I know what I'm talking about.
All right, yes, we appreciate the feedback. So, yes, you can send that to rewatchprojectpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave comments right here on the channel. So we're going to hit pause. We're going to watch The Fall of Night. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
And
I'm going to go yes.
I'm going to say yes. And then we'll come back and tell you what we thought about that. And we are back. So we've just finished watching the season finale of season 2 of Babylon 5, namely the episode The Fall of Night. Hannah, any initial thoughts about this episode?
I thought there was a really great tension build-up in the last third of it, that, you know, I knew what was coming and I was looking forward to what was coming. And it's not that there was like necessarily huge peril. Like obviously there was perilous situations, but not like say when the Centauri bomb homeworld. But it just has that lovely wind up of tension as it's going on.
Well, the thing is as well is that there's so many plot strands in Babylon 5. It's a bit of a kind of embarrassment of riches about which one do you pick to be the one that you concentrate on. And I think that whilst the Narn, the Centauri stuff and the stuff with the shadows is huge, I think ultimately you have to focus on the human element of it and how it affects Earth. Because, you know, as much as we love Londo and GKar and all of this, you know, we as viewers are human. So of course we naturally we naturally gravitate towards the human characters. So I think that the fact that this episode chose to concentrate on the two sort of somewhat connected strands of Night Watch and all the stuff that's happening on Earth as far as, you know, xenophobia and the kind of conservative agenda, and also the idea that Earth might very directly start to get brought in and be an unwittingly active participant in the Narn and the Centauri battle. I think it kind of had to focus on that because the bottom line is that's the main story is Earth, the humans on Babylon 5, and everything else is there kind of around that.
100%. I also think it's the culmination of 2 seasons of Earth plot lines that haven't been front and center in a meaningful way for a while, coming to the fore and sort of showing how all of these things are going to converge and be relevant to each other.
Well, the Narn Centauri battle is kind of forcing a lot of people to face things that they've been kind of putting off dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, there's no hiding from it anymore. It's like, okay, Earth, what is your stance on this?
Yeah, you've got to sort of nut up or shut up. Yeah. All the political Earth stuff. I remember the first time we saw this episode just feeling like, okay, it's starting to come into effect. I can see what they're trying to do with the whole Night Watch and, you know, and you can see the
analogy
that's of the president being assassinated and what that means and kind of the way the wind's blowing with that. And I remember, like, obviously in my memory, the significant piece of it is when Kosh reveals himself. But I like there's a few things that stick in my mind a lot in this episode, like the isolation of Londo when he's in any kind of group setting, the way he doesn't see anything when Kosh reveals himself.
You see, it's funny that let's get straight to that because what Hannah's talking about here is the moment when Kosh is forced to reveal himself and he's revealed as
Sheridan.
To save Sheridan. He's revealed as this kind of angelic figure, and it's suggested that the Vorlons have visited us and other cultures over the millions of years and kind of seeded the idea, the archetype of angels. So we are kind of programmed to just...
What we would term guardian angels.
Yes, exactly. And Londo doesn't see anything. And it's really funny because I was surprised when I saw there was a lot of argument online at the time and now about what that actually means. Because to me, it's really obvious. And I was surprised that anybody thought there was more than one meaning. To me, I thought it was just meant to symbolize that Londo was completely, at this stage, devoid of any internal spiritual life. That if let me finish. If Kosh was presenting himself as this figure of light, Londo was so far down the path of darkness that he was physically incapable of being able to perceive that. That was how I'd always taken it.
I just took it as his soul to soul.
Yeah, so he
got
can't.
Nothing to connect
Yeah.
with it, whereas everybody else has, for want of a more inclusive word, their humanity.
Yeah.
And he like
And I think we're saying the
have
same
that.
thing.
Yeah,
We're just expressing it
100%.
differently.
Yeah.
But it's the idea that everybody else had this moment of spiritual reverie, but Londo doesn't have anything in him to actually be able to connect with that.
It's also very it's so indicative of reality in that even when things are dire and really awful and people are depressed and dealing with awful situations, they will find hope in a gesture or a moment in time.
But you can get past that point of being able to do that.
But what I was thinking of is the Narn who afterwards says, "Oh, it's a sign of great things to come in the year ahead." And it's like, your world has been enslaved, essentially, but you're taking the positive out of it.
Well, it's like when you hear about African American slaves singing spiritual songs in the cotton field. It's like it's to get them through.
Yeah.
It
is. It's a way to bolster your spirit and to keep fighting.
I mean, sometimes it's all you got left, But what I mean though about how I was surprised to see always, I mean, I was reading online and it reminded me at the time. Other people were saying, "Oh, the only reason he didn't see anything is because the Centauri don't have a concept of like a single secular god. They're like multi." God, and I was like, no. I think you're trying to find a literal in-world solution for something that's meant to be a kind of a poetic idea.
Metaphorical.
Yeah. And I think what we're talking about here, of course, is subjectivity. This idea that, it's that old thing about how if you're shown a photograph of somebody and say this person saved a cat from a fire, you're like, oh yeah, they've got a kind face. But if you tell somebody that they're a sex offender, you're going to say, yeah, they look like one, and that's a subjective element. It's like people seeing, the face of Mother Teresa in like a cookie or something, or,
it's like, I can't remember the guy's
Shroud of
name
Turin, or
who did the, he got people in this like old medical facility and showed them some portrait pictures and said all these people had died there, and they performed a seance. Darren Brown. Darren Brown, yeah. And the pictures he'd shown them were all people who were alive. Yeah. They come in at the end, and he's like, it's just like the power of suggestion.
Yeah.
But
I like the idea as well that there's a little bit of chicken and egg going on as well, because you could say that the Vorlons have retroactively created the idea of angels, say, for example, looking at this from a human perspective, like the Catholic, the Roman Catholic, Michelangelo, Sistine Chapel idea of angels. Or you could say, that they were just evoking that, but one thing that is interesting is I can't remember if it's Sheridan or who it is, but somebody basically kind of suggests that that's kind of, it's manipulative, so there is an element of that as well. And we do see them all look different as well. We see, a Narn one, we see a Minbari one. But any other broad thoughts on this episode before I get to my own thoughts?
One of the other bits that it's so minor but has really stuck with me, that like from our first watch of it, was the interaction of Veer and
their daily
thingy,
linear.
They're kind of where they don't actually divulge anything to each other. They're just bitching.
I also like the fact that the way it's written, they could both be talking about the other person's person.
Yeah.
Like Veer's like, I don't even recognise him anymore. He even looks different. And of course, Delenn has gone through a transformation as well. So there's all of that stuff.
Yeah. I just love that because, as things get more heated and complicated, it's interesting to see that sort of, it's a bit like Star Trek's Lower Deck, how there's that sort of different class of employee and how they're coping with everything.
Yeah.
They would be absolutely run off their feet with all of the political bumwiffery that's going on. And
they'll work. The underlings always work harder than the boss, don't they?
100%. And I remember loving that bit first time around, so I hadn't remembered it was in this particular.
And there was no other real reason for those characters to be in the episode as well, so it was quite nice that they just did that.
Yeah. I always marvel at how much better Veer's hair looks now that Londo's got more stature.
Yeah.
Like it's grown.
He's got it together.
Yeah.
So, I really like this episode. And I think it's interesting thinking about it in comparison to the season finale of season 1, because that, and this is literally just occurring to me as I say this, that also focused quite heavily on the Earth stuff. Obviously that was the episode where the president was assassinated and all of that kind of stuff. And it also had a similar kind of, things are about to get worse feeling. And I also like the idea that because each season is a year, at the beginning of each season on the narration, it's 2259, then it's 2260, and years work. You probably figured it out by now. And
explain it to me again.
Right. There's these things called numbers, Hannah. But it also means that they've got this mechanic that every season ends over the Christmas season. Because it does focus on Earth and with New Year's and all that kind of stuff as well. So it gives the show a kind of comforting structure. A bit like with Buffy, where it's around the academic school year, is that each season finishes at the end of the school year. And then it's like real time. The show goes off the air for a few months. And then when it comes back, it's at the end of the summer holidays between, and because schools, right? My explaining podcast back. So I like that mechanic.
I do the absolute lion's share of our children's schooling.
I don't think anybody is taking any of the things I'm saying seriously. Hopefully not. So that's really good fun. But it does make me realise how. It's like when you see on the Lord of the Rings extras, for example, when they're talking about what a challenge it was writing this complex narrative with all of these characters. And Peter Jackson said that whenever they got stuck with the script, they'd always go back to Sam and Frodo. They'd be like, right, and I feel like with Babylon 5, you've got all of this stuff. And it's kind of like when you really need to boil it down, go back to the human characters, go back to Earth and how all of these things are affecting them. And, it's clear that that's what the show does.
You do have to centre it on something, and I think they centre it on essentially C and C of Babylon 5. So it either ends with Sheridan or Ivanova in this season, or,
the amounts of
Garibaldi.
I think most of the seasons end with Sheridan or Sinclair and Ivanova, because ultimately, this show is very progressive in the sense that it does spend a huge amount of time on its alien characters and the intricacies of the world building. But it's still ultimately going to come down to the lead human sort of characters and actors. So I like all of those elements of it. You know, obviously, like you say, the bit with Kosh is a big element as well, and the way that they handle the sort of the insidiousness of Night Watch. My only criticisms of this episode, and I remember being at the time, and I think it was late in the season, and they were just sort of like throwing the truck in front of the train. Is there's one of the worst uses of green screen I've seen on the show. You know, all the stuff where he's in that kind of train thing going to the apology and it's about to blow up and he jumps out, and I get that it's zero gravity, but that whole sequence just looks rough, and I think it's a shame that because it's such an important sequence. And the other, oh no, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, considering the first time we watched it, that scene was pixelated to me because remember whatever
it was the DVD masters which were all messed up.
Yeah, so it was just nice to be able to actually see it.
But I always remember at the time just thinking how rough that green screen, or probably blue screen back then, was. And that doesn't bother me normally in Babylon 5, but when it's such a pivotal sequence. But I don't think, I just think that was,
me much,
it really jumped out at me. And the other thing is as well, is that I think it's a little bit out of character for Sheridan and Sinclair, for Sheridan and Ivanova to be so trusting of the Earth people when they get there. You know, how
that was a bit strange.
Is the fact that they've got really good bullshit detectors, and those guys were giving off such evil vibes. But what I think it might be is I think that those evil vibes were being given off for the audience.
Yeah.
But I remember at the time just thinking, oh, come on, guys, you've dealt with enough of these guys to know.
Given how much controversy they've had with Earth Force
and
already.
Bureaucracy. To think, because Sheridan kind of just assumes, like when he talks to GKar, he's like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And that element has never quite rang true for me.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I even, when I was watching it this time, because I've forgotten it, thought that they were playing some kind of bluff, that they were going to go. And they were, because obviously they've got their little secret club of rebellion club going on, but they were going to be like, oh God, I thought they might be onto us for a moment there.
Yeah.
But they weren't. So that felt that was a rare case of the writing showing. Hang on, sorry.
Also, absolute top marks for Timu Kyle McLaughlin.
Yes.
Love him as a moustache twirling.
Everybody I've ever watched this episode with as well, because Babylon 5 is one of those shows that I've forced loads of people to watch. I don't count Hannah here because Hannah didn't take any forcing.
No, I wanted to watch it.
But everybody I've watched it with has gone, wow, that guy is weirdly Carl McLachlan-esque. It's him and the guy from Andor are the two kind of Cyril of a two of a two kind
I don't see that.
Oh God!
I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think
he's
got
got exactly the same voice for starters. He's got the same chin and the same.
I think because he is so.
I mean, his character's different.
Yeah, but because of that, I can't see him in the same.
Yeah, yeah, but his cadence is absolutely identical. But okay, well let's break it down a little bit. I like the way that because they start with Keffa. With Poochie, and I love the way that the opening line is "You're dead, Zeta Leader," and you can see that JMS is like, "Yes, finally, I can." And I feel a bit bad for the actor because he didn't ask to be forced on the show.
No.
He was just taking a gig. I mean, although the guy could have been like a horrible person, I don't know. But
has he ever been at B5 conventions?
Maybe. He wasn't at the one I went to, but
I just remember him as a very sun-kissed teenager out of some kind of 80s movie like Summer School.
Yeah,
something
he was in loads of he was in one of the Elm Street movies. He was in loads of 80s horrors as well.
I think he might have been in a movie called Shag. I think that's what I know.
But yeah, so his season-long run is over. So, I mean, the other element of this episode I think that really works is, and you touched on this, Hannah, is just the growing sense of just inevitable jeopardy that we knew that the Centauri weren't going to stop. with just Narn, and the way that they're justifying it by, the buffer zone, and the way that Earth just decides to make a deal with them to keep themselves out of it. That's something that happens with governments.
Well, it's just that panic kind of, no, we're with you. We're with you.
And all of the stuff with Night Watch and their obvious comparisons to Nazism is really astute, because you've got some obvious comparisons, like the way that the shopkeepers are being victimized. That obviously feels like, like the German Jews, having the swastikas put on their storefronts and all that kind of stuff. Night Watch, it feels obviously Hitler Youth, all of those sort of elements.
They've all got their armbands on.
Yes. But also the idea that Earth got its ass whooped by the Minbari, and that sense of fear and shame and just defeat is very similar to what happened to Germany in World War One, and that sense of fallen empire is what Hitler exploited in order to get popular. But also the idea that when they talk about Night Watch existing outside of the government, is like the Nazi Party, the German government, they hated the Nazi Party. It's that old cliche, isn't it, about how the first country that the Nazis invaded was Germany.
Yeah, that's not relevant these days.
Well, yeah. It's like, generally when you see fascist governments rise and then start rattling the sabre, the first victims are their own people.
Oh, 100%.
They don't necessarily realise it.
No. Well, I can't remember if it's said in this episode or not about, cooking a frog. You start off the boil.
Yeah, you boil it real slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then you have that, hang on, are we the baddies moment, don't you?
Yeah.
But it's the whole, is it a buffer zone or is it an invasion?
I keep meaning to look up that Mitchell and Webb sketch.
Have you not seen it?
No, I have.
Oh,
I just wanted to...
Yeah. Refresh yourself.
Yeah.
I also there's some really nice moments where of small characterization, like when Sheridan's trying to reason with him, he actually calls him Londo. He's like, Londo. He's like, dude, come on. You really must.
I really loved what Garibaldi said about how
he's stuck on a wild horse.
Yeah, and because he's frightened, he's
holding on tighter.
He's doubling down.
Yeah. It's a really good
it's
summation
the most astute analogy of Londo.
Yeah. And he says,
and it shows that Garibaldi really does get him.
Yeah. And again, everybody has believable motivation. Like Lance, when he comes in and he's talking about his grandchildren, he believes he's doing the right thing. He just wants his grandchildren to be safe. So he's like, well, if we do this thing with Centauri, they won't attack us and we'll be fine. And, looking after your own is a natural human thing to do. Like if my children were in danger and I could do something that would guarantee their protection, but it might be at the expense of other people I don't know, I can't say I wouldn't do that.
The other thing is he is not aware of everything that we're aware of.
True.
As viewers. You've got to remember that he's not coming from the same place of information.
Well, he doesn't know that the Centauri have been manipulated by an ancient evil.
Exactly.
That's quite a big factor.
That's a huge factor. Yeah.
Okay,
just an interesting thing to keep in mind is that a lot of what they're coming from is a purely battle point of view. It's not from any kind of wider agenda.
Yeah.
Like they're just looking at the quickest way to shut shit down.
Yeah. And get it off their lawn, basically. And of course, all of the stuff with Kefir looking for the ghost in hyperspace is a really good way of reminding us of this big threat, which, presumably is going to be a big element in season 3. I like the way, one of the things that JMS does, that, and I'm not saying this critically because I kind of miss it, this isn't part of pop culture anymore, is just that very prosaic kind of writing, like, when he's talking about, when that guy's like, he goes, when Kefir goes over to that guy and starts talking about the shadows, and the guy's like, "Oh, leave me alone." He's probably like, "Oh, another person's going to make fun of me." And Kefir goes into this, and when it passes you, you hear its cry in your head, and it reminds me of like The Simpsons when the fisherman's telling the story about that giant mythical fish, and he's like, and his eyes were red like the fires of hell, kind of way of
Very
talking.
dude from Jaws.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So we get the Narn heavy cruiser appear, and we learned that they were, I don't know, they were away like getting eggs from the shop or something when the Narn homeworld got attacked, and they want sanctuary as well. Yeah. Carl McLachlan goes to visit Ivanova as well, and he offers a career progression, and she dresses him down.
He goes,
yes.
The offer's open indefinitely.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, Night Watch is separate from the ministry, because she's like, does Lance know you're here? Yeah. And he's like,
I think she really warmed to Lance.
Yeah, and he says, well, we're separate from them. And again, that's where this idea of Nazism, another level to that. And she rebukes him.
Not communicating, getting on with their own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly you've got a problem.
And I love the way that when she rebukes him, he kind of like, "Oh, my young friends," a little bit, like, you don't get it.
You just don't get it.
Sheridan speaks to GKar.
Sheeple.
He gets GKar's hopes up. So we see the Night Watch, a storeholder. Again, there's a lot of historical precedent for all this kind of stuff that, these people are criticising the government. He gets Zach to confirm it. And I like the way that he just kind of, the thing that Zach says doesn't actually make any difference. They were going to get the guy anyway. But it means that he
kind of implicates him.
Well, it kind of just, it's a power thing. And when Zach does it and he congratulates him and he says, "Oh, you show great promise," that's how, the actor who plays Zach is too old for this, I guess, but that's how young men get radicalised. They through compliments, through feeling like they belong,
and also feeling like they don't have a way out, that they're sort of too deep in,
like Londo.
Yeah.
So there's a big controversy when they learn that Sheridan was training the pilots to fight Centauri tactics. And, quite rightly, he says, well, if we're going to get attacked by anyone, it's probably going to be the Centauri. So this makes sense. But this is where we learn about the non-aggression treaty. One of the bridge officers dobs them in, and Ivanova and Sheridan talk about their shame with Air Force. I used to feel 10 feet tall when I wore this as well. And she gives him a Christmas present, which is some shrapnel from the Black Star, which is the ship that he took down. And she says this is a reminder that the impossible is possible.
Maybe don't show that to Delenn.
Yeah, I've made you some earrings.
Linnea, remember your family was on this one?
Yeah, that's it. I think there's a bit of one of your friends' scalp on this. So they demand that they hand them over. The Centauri ship explodes as well, and Sheridan uses technicalities to justify protecting the Centauri, but he's forced to apologise. I love the scene where he's practicing his speech as well, because he's talking to us, the audience, because he's looking in the mirror as well. So that's a kind of nice.
That's totally a you kind of apology as well. Well, I'm sorry that made you very upset when I was just being completely reasonable.
Well, it's not an apology if you don't use the word "but" at some point in there. So they go into the Zen garden as well. He gets the train. This is the blue screen bit that I talk about. He jumps and Kosh, saves him, and they all see their version, and it's the different but the same. And we learned that he'd be recognised. The reason that he said he'd be recognised if he didn't wear his encounter suit now becomes clear as well, and that he visited planets the Vorlons, visited planets for millions of years, sort of seeding the mythology of planets as well, and Londo saw nothing. And then we get Ivanova's voiceover. We see that Londo's gone on the offensive. There's kind of a montage sequence where she's sort of talking about, where we are, and we see Londo kind of gesticulating in the council chambers. Shopkeeper's getting arrested as well because of allegations of sedition. And she says that now the station has become our last best hope for victory. And peace is another word for surrender. And, and she says that secrets have a way of getting out. And this is where we see the ISN news feed, and they've captured an image of a shadow ship, which of course is a bit of a whoopsie moment as well.
Damn you, Poochie.
And then my final notes are chicken, egg foo young, and wonton and pork soup. So our evening's food order is. Any final thoughts on the chicken, egg foo young?
It was lovely.
Yeah.
I like that they ended on Ivanova's voiceover.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was really necessary to
Because she's been there from the beginning.
Yeah, and to kind of summarize where they're at, how the year ends,
How they feel about it as well.
yeah, and sort of have that little montage of Londo raging around the place,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think you needed that to finish the year off.
Yeah.
Before you start again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I agree with all of that. All right, just a quick reminder that we appreciate feedback. Rewatch Project Podcast at gmail.com, or leave comments here on the channel. What do we talk about next time, Hannah?
I think we should do a sorbet.
Oh, okay. I haven't had a chance to think about this, so I do apologise.
Well, I'm not going to say what episode I want to pick either, but I think we should pick, as per Mark's suggestion, pick one episode of a TV show each from our childhood.
Okay.
And see if it stands up.
Okay.
I already know the one I want to pick, but I need to make sure that I haven't conflated it with something else in my head.
Oh, okay. Well, are you sure you don't want to say? I mean,
Well, it's an episode of MacGyver.
Right, okay.
And it's an episode where one of MacGyver's friends gets eaten by a whole load of ants, and there's ants under the friend's glasses, and I remember it being the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
All right, well, we'll be back real soon.
It'll be great.
Bye-bye.
Bye.